All right, so CRMs, a really big pain point and source of frustration in the construction industry. So many questions we see in the message boards, in the groups, frustrations we hear from clients, like I wanted to do this, it's not doing that. There's all these different options. Which one is best for me? How do I automate all the things but still look like I have that personal touch? Like, how do I make a CRM work? Why don't any of them do what I want them to do? All that sort of thing. So I wanted to bring you someone who is an expert at CRM methodology and the way that you should be thinking about a CRM, the expectations you should have around a CRM, how to choose the best one, what to think about before you invest in a CRM, how to make sure that you are using a CRM to the best of its abilities, and all those good things. So I brought in my friend Kasey Luft. We hopped on, really got to dig into his brain and how he approaches working with his clients as far as choosing a CRM, going through the process of mapping out everything that you needed to do, and then implementing it and continuing to run it successfully so that you can grow and scale your business and get that ROI that you need from your CRM. So tune in. We've got a very focused episode here. Kasey shares a lot of insights, a lot of tips that can help us make more intelligent, more informed, more intentional decisions about our businesses. All right, we are diving in with Kasey Luft of Clientric, a CRM consulting company. And I've gotten to know Kasey over the past, 6 months or so. We're both members of TCC Win Rate Consulting and have met at least one event. And I wanted to bring him on because, man, the roofing contracting industry, there are just so many questions about CRMs and like, how do I choose the right one? Like, what's the right use for one? How do I make it work for me? How do I automate as many of the things as possible? And so I'm excited to dive in with Kasey and to learn myself as well as you guys, like learn from his experience and insight. So what's up, my man? Welcome to the show.
Joe, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me on. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. So we'll dive into all that good stuff, but to give us some context, who's Kasey? Where are you at? What's your business all about? That sort of thing.
Yeah, that's a loaded question. I'm still trying to figure that out myself.
Trying to figure out who I am, what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. Yeah, I get it.
What's my why? No, I'm actually trying to figure that out, but that's a longer story we won't dive into. My name is Kasey Luft. I am CEO and founder of Clientric CRM Consulting. We are a consulting business that primarily works with those businesses that are utilizing Zoho or want to utilize Zoho CRM. On top of all of that, I found my business is about 1.5 years old now. I started it when I joined the Win Rate Consulting Group way back when. I was one of the original OG founders of it, so that was kind of cool. And so it's just been growing ever since then. I've now have roughly 10 people. I grew from earlier this year to having 2 and an intern to now having 10. So it's grown quite rapidly, and I've been loving every minute of it.
Wow, that's cool. Glad that you're loving it because growth is not always good. It's challenging. Any part of a business is challenging, whether you're growing, whether you're slow, whether you're flat. Like, it's what we signed up for, right?
Yeah, it's all over the place.
That's good to hear you're loving it. What's been I'm just curious, this wasn't really part of the agenda here, but like, what's been the reason behind the rapid growth?
Honestly, a large part of it is because I'm able to outsource. So a large portion of my team is actually based out of India. I actually created a company over there to handle a lot of the CRM development stuff that we do. So we have, for example, Zoho developers. For those of you who aren't familiar with Zoho, it's very similar to Salesforce or HubSpot. I'm sure you've heard of those. Those are very popular in the North American market. Zoho is not, but it's an up-and-comer. And so it's very popular in India. There's a ton of developers over there. So it's very easy. It's very straightforward to hire people over there to do a lot of that stuff. And then we also have some integrations developers, a couple other developers over there that kind of handle some of the other tasks that are a part of any given implementation. So that's a large part of that organization is that Indian component. And then we have over here in the North American component, we have a lot of our client success, myself and a few other kind of operations people versus, IT people.
Cool. Love the model. I'm very familiar with it. It makes a lot of sense. So along with the team, I assume there's been a lot of demand for your services, right?
Yeah, I mean, everyone always wants more, so I'm going to try not to be greedy, but no, we only have a handful of clients realistically. We have a lot of complex clients, and so they end up are fairly high ticket customers that we work with quite a lot. In the legal industry that we've been dealing with lately. And so we're basically creating a whole new case management systems for them, like revamping their entire processes, the way their entire business works within the legal industry. And a few of those are able to keep us very busy, too busy.
I bet. Okay. Yeah. I bet there's some nuances that need to be taken care of
Definitely.
in the legal industry, particularly. All right. So let's do this. I have some questions I wanted to ask you, but I don't really want to make it an interrogation. How about I kind of share with you, because we operate in the construction industry, mostly in the roofing industry. So how about I share with you, like, and you probably can resonate with this, what like a typical situation that our clients are facing and the questions they're having, and maybe just kind of, break it apart from there.
100%. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Let's do it.
Cool. So, there's so many companies, most of the roofing industry is like in that, the under $10 million a year space, like, from startup to a few years in, or even many years in, companies that, that for whatever reason, maybe don't want to grow beyond that or are struggling or whatever. So, a lot of those moving parts where like you get someone who starts a company, they hustle and grind till 1 or 2 million a year, which is, roughly capacity, right? It's like, I can't work any more hours in a day. I can't drink any more Red Bull. Like, I need to figure out some systems and processes. I need some software. What got me here is not what's going to get me there. So that's a very important, common inflection point that we see. That's a common area where we'll pick up a client. They're like, all right, I need to figure out this marketing thing. Like, teach me how to do this marketing. So along with that, there's a CRM. It's like, all right, I've used anything from a notebook to Google Sheets to, whatever it might be. And even today, like 2022, if clients that come in that they've never used a CRM before, that's kind of rare, but most of them are using a CRM, probably not using it to their full capability. I'll raise my hand on that one, guilty of that. And they're just trying to figure out like, what's the best, how do I fit a CRM into my workflow, or how do I fit my workflow into a CRM? I want to automate as much as possible. I want to automate things as much as possible, but I don't want to look like I'm automating things. Like, I still want that personal touch from my prospects and clients. I want to drip out some emails during the marketing and process and the sales process. And even while we're building that construction project for our clients, maybe at certain points, I want to trigger certain emails or text messages going out and things like that. So a lot of it, a lot of questions we get are around the automation part of it. And then another kind of bucket of questions we get around, all right, well, I have this database, right? I've been in business 5 years. I was talking with a client actually this morning about this, or this afternoon, down in Houston, and doing some marketing to that database. Like, how do I get everyone in one place? How do I like send them out some broadcast messages, emails, text messages, whatever. So those are just kind of me just kind of spilling some of the pain points that some of our clients have. They seem to be always asking in the Facebook groups, like, what are people using? I think people just jump into CRMs because they see like maybe a deal or their buddies using it, and they don't take the time to understand like really what they want out of it and that sort of thing.
100%. Yeah. I think where you left it couldn't have been better. People don't know what they're actually looking for. That is honestly 95% of my job is figuring out what people want. And like people pay us money to help them figure that out when they could easily do it themselves. It's like going to a gym, right? If you're gonna get a fitness instructor, you could easily do all these exercises at home, but you're not gonna. So having someone to like kind of guide you along that path, ask the questions that you maybe wouldn't have asked, is super helpful for a lot of our clients. So typically what we do, every engagement we start out with is We map out your processes. We use it's a tool called Miro, what we use, but it's very similar to Lucidchart if you're familiar with that one. There's a lot of different process mapping tools. I highly, highly, highly recommend and stress that you map out what you're doing. As soon as you start mapping out what your processes are, you're going to start to identify, why are we doing it this way? This makes zero sense. We're redoing work 3 or 4 different times. You can cut out different pieces of that puzzle and just connect them back together without ever changing anything and making your team that much more efficient. Being able to visually, I'm a very visual person, and not everyone is, but I recommend you to sit down and look visually at your processes. And if you have like 50 million things that you're doing, it's too many processes. You need to systematize. You need to make it simpler for your business. And that's where we have found a lot of our clients are actually losing efficiency gains. It's in the operation side, realistically. It's the fact that they don't do things a consistent way every time. We'll be like, oh, when do you send out emails? Well, we might send it out 2 days from now. We might send it out 3 days from now. It could be a week. Well, that doesn't really work when it comes to automation. And when you get further down that pipeline of what you're actually trying to accomplish, it doesn't work. And so it's important to understand and have a very systematized method of reaching out to your leads. I get it might not be the same for everyone. Maybe different products have different schedules or different, reach out attempts or whatever it means. But that is the most important thing, is to start identifying these patterns and making sure they're repeatable. So you and your team know exactly what you're doing.
Okay, I'm just taking some notes here.
Yeah. I know it's a lot. I just spewed a lot at you. I apologize.
No, that's good. And yeah, as a marketing training company that we are, like, that's where we start with a client as well. We give them this worksheet called a marketing strategy worksheet. And it's like, basically like, give us a clear snapshot of your business, right? Like, what are your products? What are your services, locations, team? All right, what are your goals? Like, what are your ideal projects? Which ones do you want to do more of? Which ones do you want to stop doing because they're not profitable or they're just a pain? And then how do we close that gap between where we are now and where we want to be? So yeah, similar thing. Like, people have never really considered that. And a lot of people say that. They're like, oh, I've never really thought about that before, or thought about it that way before. And the same thing with you and I, like hiring a business coach. Like, one of the first things is like, all right, well, what do you want? Like, man, I haven't thought about that in a while because I've been working so hard. I haven't really figured out what I want.
I don't take time to settle down and actually think about that. And that's a large part of the problem. We're always moving.
Why do we get in our own way, man?
Right.
But yeah, no, that's so true. So like an example here, we brought on enrolled a new client this morning. And I was on the road, and right now, like, I'm the bottleneck for basically like onboarding a new client. We have some automation in place, but I think it might be a little broken. And so, it took me, I still haven't done it right now. It's 6:00 at night, and I'll get to it after this, but it's like on the bottleneck for that. And I could have done it earlier, but I said to myself, all right, let me like map out this process so that it's very smooth. And maybe this is the last time that I onboard a client, maybe with someone else on our team. So that's why I try to think about things. I'm like, if I can take an extra, it might be an extra 45 minutes to just get them, send a DocuSign and, logins for everything, welcome emails. It might be an extra 45 minutes for me to record some Loom videos and write out a doc of bullet point steps and things like that. But if I'm like in the mindset of, all right, if I take that extra time now, then this might be the last time I need to do this,
Yeah, exactly. And getting that process hammered out, as long as, it doesn't change, that's fantastic. The issue is when there's multiple different formulas, this client gets this kind of contract with this method, this client gets this kind of contract. That's when it starts to get a little crazier, for sure.
Yeah, totally. And as an owner, like, that just gets kind of, stuck in your head, because it's like, oh, well, we usually do it this way, but in these random cases, we do it this way, and no one else knows that besides me. So yeah, I get it.
It's tough.
How do people choose the right CRM for their business? Like, what key kind of features should they be looking for?
I think a lot of people are going to say it's going to come down to the features, but realistically, it comes down to price. It comes down to what people can afford. At first and foremost, if you can afford a better tool, that's great, but not all tools that cost a lot are necessarily good either. So when you have the budget to look into a CRM application, it now becomes about the features. It becomes, what do I need? What does my business need right now? A lot of people think they need, this one thing right now, but they're not thinking about when they grow and scale. The point of a CRM is to grow and scale. So if you're not already thinking a year, 2 years, 5 years in advance, you've already lost. Realistically, if you're not thinking about the future and future-proofing your business from potential risks, you've already lost. So a lot of these applications that are out there, they'll have limitations on them. You have to be very, very careful with. They'll say, oh, you can, let's say you have 10 people up to this amount, it's going to cost $5,000, and every, person after that's going to cost another $1,000. Okay, what happens when you get to a team of 15,000? You're paying an extra 5,000 per each of those people, or whatever it is. That's maybe more on the extreme side, but it just goes to show you have to think about all these other little things as well. And something that the bigger CRMs do, which is very confusing, is they make it very difficult to actually figure out how much things cost. Like for example, when it comes to marketing automation tools, maybe you can only have 1,000 contacts in your system, and every contact after that is going to be an extra, 50 cents per contact. And it's very convoluted and confusing. So the sooner you identify what you actually need in a system, the sooner you can identify and look at those future values and like, is this worth it? Is it going to be worth it? Like when we have, double the capacity, triple the capacity, we need a tool that does SMS messaging. We want bulk SMS messaging maybe in the future. Right now, we maybe only have 20 clients. We don't necessarily need bulk SMS messaging, but we love that ability. I know something in the roofing space that a lot of people like. We have a couple of different clients, but like being able to see things on a map, being able to plan out routes, like those kinds of things, having a field service manager, having potentially a production scheduling application. There's a lot of these different tools that are out there that you might be able to integrate with, and some tools may have, some tools may not. And so you have to think of the extra costs associated with all those other applications if that one tool you're looking at and exploring doesn't have it. So there's so many different things, but identifying, I think, probably the top 5 to 10 requirements from your end right now, and then identifying, what could be the top 5 to 10 requirements in a year from now, 2 years from now. Do you need a recruiting application? Do you need a way to internal communications? Are you mainly just using iPhone or, just messaging on your phone right now? Things like that. So trying to identify and future-proof those and reduce the risks long-term, because you don't want to get into a system and regret it. A lot of people do that way more frequently than you could ever imagine. People come to us saying like, we've outgrown this tool. That's not the way this should work. You should be able to plan ahead and not outgrow it. It should never outgrow you if you plan properly.
All right. Thanks for sharing that. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's kind of been us. Like we have the Frankenstein system of like a bunch of different tools. And it's like, oh, this year we started doing more with SMS, with our sales and marketing funnel and with our clients. So we tacked on another tool. Now there's like all these different things that are, like duct taped together with Zapier, and like it's, sometimes it works. Most times it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
But
yeah, like 100%. Like all the Band-Aid fixes are good. But if you can identify a tool that you can grow into, like for example, let's say you want to use SMS messaging in the future, maybe as an API to Twilio or something like that you could connect with, so you didn't have to use Zapier, or like it has the ability to have add-ons or a marketplace even potentially where you can utilize some of these things. Like that's something to look at and be sure that you are going to be able to grow into it. Having that customizability, some out-of-the-box tools just don't have that.
Got it. And so I guess it comes down to budget. Like, what are you willing to pay for? Like, if it's going to be a lower budget, it's going to be an out-of-the-box tool that you're going to have to maybe fit, shoehorn your business into or your process into, whereas something more of an investment, you're going to be able to customize. Would that be accurate?
100%.
Okay.
And that's what we do. We work primarily with businesses who are looking to customize. They've gone through that route. They realize that, like we can only use this tool for so long. They've outgrown it. They need to build a customized tool based off of their new processes. Their processes haven't really changed. They've just grown over time. Everything that they did when they were, one to two clients has just grown exponentially, and they can no longer do it all themselves. And they realize that.
Got it. Okay. So Zoho is something that's very customizable.
Yes, I love it.
Okay.
It's I'm a big fanboy, but it is essentially the same as Salesforce or HubSpot, fraction of the price. That's why I love it.
Oh, okay. So I was going to
Yeah,
ask you,
I don't know how else to describe it, but
okay, no, that's great. I was going to ask you if money is not an issue, what is the best CRM? And I guess you just answered that.
yeah, yeah. If you have, I mean, when it comes to Zoho, if you're looking for the most bang for your buck, it's $37 per user per month.
Okay.
Very few tools, and with that, you get 40 plus different applications.
Wow.
I haven't seen any other CRM out there that offers anything similar. If you're looking for, HubSpot and Salesforce are great. You have your custom, Acculinks, your out of the box solutions, which do have some customizability into it. I've heard they're expanding on that. Those kinds of businesses, they're slowly expanding on the customizability, but at the end of the day, they're not fully customizable to the way that a lot of people want them to be.
Yes, and that's a big frustration with a lot of our clients. So if someone invests in Zoho, just for an example, like what's the expectation? Like, should they be able to set everything up themselves, or would they be better off hiring someone like you or someone else to help them like build that out?
That's a very good question. It depends on how much time you have. If you have a lot of free
True.
time on your hands, then you could learn it. I think it doesn't matter what CRM tool, any software you use when you bring it into your business. If you do not give it the time of the day to learn it, to become proficient in it, to be able to teach your team how to use it, it's going to fail. It doesn't matter whether it's Zoho, Salesforce, HubSpot, Acculinks, it doesn't matter. If you're not willing to put in the time and effort, and we've had some clients that do this, and they kind of expect us, to be honest, to train them on it. But at a certain point, we can only show you so much as a developer, as a person who's kind of customizing it for you. You still have to understand the process, the new process using the tool. And it's up to you to do that. So at the end of the day, it's going to require time and effort. It's not easy, and it's not meant to be easy. But what it is supposed to do is it will give you an ROI. And it has to give you an ROI.
How do you guide your clients on measuring that ROI? Do you?
That's a good question.
I know.
I try to.
Hey, I get it all day as a marketing training company. So
That's true. That's true. Fair point. So what I like to do is I like to try to get an estimate from people of like, how much time do you think you're wasting per lead? Like how much time, like a lot of people that we talk with, like we know this could be better, or we'll see as we're mapping through their processes, this unnecessary time of actually having to manually do a lot of this work. We'll actually get them to measure that out. We'll say, how long is it taking you to do this? So let's say you have to follow up with people manually. You have to send out text messages manually. You have to send out a contract manually. If you're doing all of these things manually, let's just say we automate half of that. How much time is that saving? Sending out an automated contract right there is probably going to save you a few minutes, maybe even more than a few minutes. Having automatic follow-ups. You can get away with having some personalization into it. It depends on how far you want to go. But a lot of time, an automated follow-up, just saying like, hey, we still haven't heard back from you on this thing. We'd love to, get your opinion on the contract or the estimate, this kind of stuff. Being able to create estimates automatically, anything like that, anything within that process, if you can automate it, we're going to say, like, if you could tell us how much time it's taking you, we can tell you how much time we're going to be able to save from it. And then overall, there's just overall efficiency gains through the rest of this process being smoother. So how long does it take? It takes, 1 hour to serve this one prospect. Okay, we think it's going to take a half hour. We've now just doubled the amount of clients that you can actually serve. So that's kind of typically how we like to do it. And honestly, a great example of this is with one of our legal law firm clients. Most recently, we were able to cut out all of the manual processes that they had for some of their onboarding. They have signed up so far 2,000 people, and it removed potentially around 5 to 10 minutes per person that they'd have to follow up. That's reducing by 167 hours to 333 hours worth of time that we've just saved that business by being able to onboard 2,000 new leads without lifting a finger. So that goes to show you how big an impact some of these things can actually be, just because you remove that human aspect of it.
Wow. That's exciting. Because
It's very
going back to
exciting.
my process of onboarding this new client, which, hey, always grateful to onboard a new client. That's always exciting. But, after our call, would I rather go do some other things, some sales follow-ups, or go hang out with my family or whatever, instead of spending the half an hour to do that? And then also having that potential human error in there, which happens, so
Totally.
that makes a
And I
lot of
mean,
sense.
there's a fine line too. Like, there's a fine line of like, okay, these people didn't really need any human intervention. Let's say you're onboarding a new client. Maybe you need to like give them the experience to make sure that, they're gonna enjoy their time with you. That's also a big aspect of it, where you need to be sure that, you're putting time and effort into these people to make sure that they're going to have an enjoyable experience. They have all of their concerns have been addressed, anything like that. So there's a fine line. Like, it doesn't necessarily work with everyone, but the more you can identify and automate throughout that process, it allows you to give that time back to other activities you want to do or spending time with your family.
Right. Yeah. There's an opportunity cost to every single thing that we do. So it's
Yeah,
true.
exactly.
So powerful stuff. Are there unrealistic expectations that people have for a CRM?
The biggest unrealistic expectation people have, and this is of all software, is that it's just going to work right away out of the box. I'm not going to have to learn. We've kind of touched on that already, but like, why isn't this thing doing the thing I expected it to do? Well, because you don't know how to do it yet. Like, you have to spend time to do it. That is by far the thing that we have seen the most of. People just expect it to basically do everything for them. That's not the case. You still have to do a lot of the work, and you have to know the tool inside and out.
All right. Makes sense. Yeah. I actually had a meeting today with one of the roofing CRMs called Job Progress
Yeah.
here in New Jersey. And so I asked him kind of a similar question. And he's like, listen, you join a gym, you don't get in shape by joining a gym, right?
Yeah.
You have to go, you have to do the work, you have to show up, you have to take the steps, you have to get on the treadmill, whatever that is. So think about that for anyone listening, watching, whatever. Like, just because you bought this fancy thing, just because your buddy is killing it, loves the CRM, doesn't mean just because you buy it, you're gonna get those same results. You got to put in the
Yeah.
work, just like anything
Exactly.
else in business,
I
right?
mean, that's just life. You have to put in
Yeah.
the work to get
Yeah.
what you want out of it.
Yeah,
Let's get real
there's
deep
no,
here.
yeah, there is no magic. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Personnel wise, some of the clients that we've worked with over the years, some of the bigger ones have like a person dedicated in the company to be like the CRM manager or some other title. Is that something that you see with your clients and or something that you recommend?
I would say it's definitely helpful if you have someone who is a point person on, let's say,
Yeah.
your CRM, someone who it works best when we work with clients who have one point person, so we know who to communicate with. Maybe we're doing some development work and they need some training, and then they can go back and train the rest of their team. We've had some not so good experiences when everyone of the client, like there's 5 or 6 different people that are like, oh, I want to learn this thing, I want to know how to do this thing, I want this thing. It becomes more difficult for someone like me to really like help them. So if you have a point person that can go back, that can learn, that's doing all the training, that's spending the time, then you have one person that has all the knowledge and can train the rest of the staff. So I definitely recommend it, as opposed to having, this person know this thing, this person know that thing. Depending on how big your company is, you might have different people focus on different applications. So for example, if you're like a sales member, like you could have a champion salesperson that knows the sales side inside and out. You could have a champion marketing person that's going to know the marketing side in and out. We've seen that before, and that's actually worked out really well, different departments wise. So I definitely recommend, if you're getting to that point, that would be something to look at.
All right, that makes sense completely. I mean, that's kind of how we operate with our marketing training. Like, we'll train the marketing manager in the roofing or contracting
Exactly.
company, and that's like the point person.
Yeah.
Where that fails with us anyway is like when the owner tries to take it on and they're just like they're doing too much. They can't dedicate the time to it. And it's like, or, like you said, multiple people try to take care of it, but then when everyone's in charge, no one's really in charge and doing it well. So having that person to like own that thing, like own that responsibility, I think that's really key.
Absolutely huge, for sure.
And ideally someone other, in a big company, probably not an issue, but like in a smaller company, ideally someone other than the owner, I would say, because like owners just wearing so many hats that it's going to be hard
I would
to.
agree with that.
All right.
Although the owner is sometimes the most difficult person to give up that control, but I get it.
Right. And like that's me right now. Like I am, I guess one of my hats is the CRM manager, but like
Yeah.
or CRMs because we have multiple tools.
Nice.
But like not that I don't want to get rid of it. And I don't know if we really have anyone right now I could like hand it to, but it's just like it's like I almost feel like I need like a week off to like just work on that and like give it to
Totally.
someone, you know?
Yeah.
Like
Map out your
package it up.
processes.
Yeah, because I don't want to hand them a whole pile of garbage. Like I want to package it up somewhat neatly to give
Yeah,
it to someone, you know?
totally.
Yeah, really insightful stuff. I don't want to keep you too long. Anything else that we didn't hit on that's like really important about CRM and how to make a decision, how to get the most out of it, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is identifying, what you want to get out of it, what your future company or business with your goals, what you're trying to accomplish will get out of it, making sure it's a good fit, running through and identifying the potential. I guess if you're switching to a new one, identifying the most problematic areas of a new implementation or of an implementation, spending more time there, understanding it, making sure that there's a solid plan around it. A lot of people are migrating from one CRM to another, and people do not do that migration plan any justice. They are just moving. It's a band-aid solution, actually moving to a new tool because they're not looking at their old tool and being like, do we need this information? This information is useless to us. We haven't ever used it. We're not going to use it. Let's not bring it over. Many people don't do that. They'll just take whatever information they have, or they get bogged down and they do a poor job of that migration. So when you're moving to a new tool, which a lot of people do, it's not necessarily the new tool or the old tool that was the issue. It's a lot of the times it was the state of the old tool that was the issue, and you're just porting over those problems. You're not improving anything. You're just band-aid fixing it until it happens again and again and again. So taking a tough look at your systems, your processes, ensuring that the quality is there, the data integrity is there, so you don't lose track of it.
I like that. You're almost like it's a chance to start fresh. So like actually start fresh. Don't like bring in those bad, that bad data or habits or whatever it is.
Exactly. 100%.
Cool. And I'm curious, I'm not like looking at, I'm not trying to, sell anyone or anything like that. I'm genuinely curious. Like when someone would engage with you for your services, is it like an initial like consulting kind of thing, like mapping out this process and then kind of getting into building it out, or like, what does that look like?
Yeah, totally. So typically what that looks like is we sit down with our clients for between 4 and 5 hours and really map out what they're doing. Doesn't really matter what tool you're using. Like we have different services we offer. We have a technical discovery, which is more around, you're not sure what CRM you want to use. Okay, let's identify your requirements. That's one service we offer. Another service is, okay, let's say you've chosen your CRM. Let's start mapping it out. Let's see what this could look like using the exact functions that you'd expect. We then create a full report on that. We'll create a fixed cost breakdown of how much it's going to cost for the project. We'll talk about timeline, expectations, scope, all that kind of stuff. We really map out in great detail what needs to happen to get from point A to point B. And then from there, we just send out a contract. And if it's approved, if the budget is something that you enjoy or something that you can stomach, then that's something that we can start working on. And if you choose not to, typically we create the reports enough for you to go to another developer to have them do the work. Like ideally, like we're not trying to take people's money. We're still trying to help no matter what. So we'll create a report that you can take to someone else, which will lay out the plan for an implementation.
All right, right on. I mean, that sounds exactly like in construction, that would be a design build contract where you're
Exactly.
either working with a design build firm or an architect, and then he's, putting those plans out to bid or giving you that set of plans that you can do whatever you want with. So is that fair?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's kind of where I took it from, to be perfectly honest with you.
All right, nice. All right. I love how it just ties right into the construction industry. So
Totally.
Cool. Well, man, thank you so much. I want to thank you for your insights. Do you have a couple minutes just to answer some fun questions, and we'll finish off from there?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. We call this the lightning round. And these are more for me personally because I like to learn about people and routines and books and, how people learn. So what book are you reading currently?
Right now, I'm reading Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. I'm just at the beginning stages of it, but it's a really interesting book. He actually won the Nobel Prize in, I think, psychology. I can't remember how many years back now, but it's really interesting stuff talking about how you can think. It allows you to look at your options as you're deciding, like what choices you need to make. And it's just allowing you to, I guess, analytically look at those decisions a bit more effectively, so you can make better decisions by thinking fast and slow, and then just choosing which one to use. So that's my understanding of it. I probably butchered it. I apologize, but so far it's really interesting.
Yeah, that sounds cool. I've heard of it. I've never read it, but I will. It's on my list. So
Nice.
I'm a book junkie. I'm fascinated by morning routines. Do you have one? If so, what is it?
It's not consistent. I wish I had one.
Okay.
I like to wake up around 5 a.m. when I can. Typically what happens is I'll wake up at 5 a.m., I'll go to the gym, and that's pretty much it. I'll come back and start my day, have like a smoothie, have breakfast, have like a really good breakfast, feel fueled for the day. And I usually feel really good after that. The days I tend to don't make that routine happen are days that I've stayed up too late. I tend to go to bed very early, like before. Like my goal now, and I'm trying to get better at that, is to get into bed at 9 p.m., like be in bed by 9 p.m. If I don't get enough sleep, I just can't function. And I've learned that. So my morning routine almost starts the night before in order for me to actually make my morning routine.
I 100% agree. Yeah, my goal is to be in bed by 9:15, so I'm right there
Nice.
with you. And I used to be, let me burn the candle at both ends and just grind. And just for me, that's not productive.
It doesn't work, and I need a certain amount of sleep. I don't know if it must be the same with you then. I just can't function if I don't get like a certain amount of sleep. I'm a zombie.
Yeah, right
day.
on. Well, that's a good. I mean, that's an intentional morning routine, like working out, having a good breakfast, priming yourself for the day. That's what it's all about, right? Like
Totally.
knowing what puts you in that state to be able to show up as your best. So, thanks for sharing.
Yeah, no problem.
Next travel destination?
Next travel destination. Are we talking like international here? Because I'm in Canada and the US, or just in my country?
Yeah, whatever. I mean, whatever's on the calendar.
I have a vacation coming up this week. I'm going to visit some friends in another province. There's a wedding coming up, and then my wife and I are going to be doing some camping. So that's going to be our next vacation ultimately. So that's where we'll be traveling to, and we're going to be doing some camping in the Rockies. So look forward to that over the next week.
It sounds awesome. Good stuff.
It is.
And what are you? So you've got everything done. You got the chores done and everything. You've got like this like miraculously free Saturday to do whatever you want. So what are you doing?
If I only have one day, I'm going to be on the lake. I'm going to be probably paddleboarding.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. I live by the water too, and
Nice.
I will be somewhere in the river in the ocean. So
Nice.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. That's the best place to be.
Yeah, man. There's something about it. It's good for the soul.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Kasey, I really appreciate it. Thanks for sharing. I'm excited to get this out to our audience, to give them some insights and help them really make better decisions around their processes, around their businesses, around their CRMs, and make sure that they're choosing the right one, using it the right way, and getting that ROI that they want.
Definitely. I appreciate you having me on here. It's been a blast to kind of share some of the knowledge I've learned over the past year and a half. And hopefully someone out there got some value from it. That's all I can hope for.
All right. Thanks a lot. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, guys. Hope you got a lot of value out of that conversation. Hope you took down some notes, bring them to your team, and really take action on this stuff. If nothing else, get out a notebook, open up a doc on your computer, your notes on your phone, whatever, and really have a think about like what it is that you want in that next level of your business, whether it pertains to a CRM or not. This stuff is really important to take a step back, zoom out, think about the big picture, think about our vision, and then think about the pieces that we need to put in place, whether it's a CRM or people or training or equipment or whatever it is, those pieces that are going to help us get to that next level. Because as I mentioned in the interview with Kasey, what got us here is very, very likely not what's going to get us to this level. So really be strategic about that. I know no one here, including myself, is scared of working hard, but it's a challenge to sometimes, take a step back, get up to 30,000 feet and like take a survey of everything that's going on in the business. All right. So as always, we appreciate you guys sharing this content with anyone that you might find or that might find value in it. Share it out, take a screenshot, share it on your stories, drop a comment. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. We're dropping video content every few days here on the channel. If you're listening to the podcast, we always appreciate those reviews on iTunes or Spotify or the podcast listening app of your choice. We love the engagement. Reach out if we can help with anything. I'll put Kasey's info in the show notes and the podcast and the YouTube and everything like that. Feel free to check out his website for some more resources and kind of get those juices flowing. All right, we'll see you soon.